What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake KBO Daily Fantasy Sports Wise Stream, CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all those social media platforms listed above or directly at wisetake.com. And make sure that you do, because right now, all the content we're doing at wisetake.com is currently free. It won't be free forever, but it is free at the moment. So make sure you go over there and take advantage of your projections. I've been covering NASCAR, some esports League of Legends. Once we get more than 2-game slates, we'll continue to cover that. And of course, the KBO stuff, man. I do an article, which is not up yet. We do projections for DraftKings and cheat sheets for DraftKings. We don't cover FanDuel with the content, just the breakdowns and all that stuff is the same, just DraftKings right now. But because it's temporary till baseball and all that starts, NBA. But in the meantime, go check it out. Take advantage while it's free. Try it out. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please hit the notifications bell so you're notified whenever we do go live. And of course, subscribe. That goes without saying. Hit that like button, guys. A bunch of you guys, I came in here, it was 10 likes. That's the most we've ever had before I've came into the show. And I was late today, so I apologize. Unless, maybe I should be late more often if y'all are going to make sure you get the likes before I even get in here. But no, unfortunately, my dog got sick, man. Dog got sick in the new car, so I had to go out there, It's never going to come out. I now have dog vomit, and apparently he ate some chocolate. Would have been nice to know about that. Somebody saw me eat chocolate, didn't tell me. And then he threw up 4 or 5 times in the car on the way home. So, glorious. It's a glorious, glorious start. I say start to my day because it's a whole new slate. But we don't like to talk about that kind of stuff. We're here to talk about some positive stuff. So with that said, hopefully you all had a happy Memorial Day. I know most of us are still participating in the social distancing. So if you had your barbecues or whatever, you did it outside. I know in New Jersey, they recently raised the limit from 10 people in a gathering to 25. So hopefully you guys are, doing the dirty best way you can, man. Making the most out of situations, right? Like, we try not to complain about things, try not to make excuses. We try to just take everything head on and thrive in the competition of it, thrive in the adversity of the situation. So, that's what we do. This is an interesting slate. We got a lot of really good pitching. And we have another foreign player that's getting ready to make his 2020 debut, Chadwick. Chadwick is like a name that you say, like, oh, look at this Chadwick ass looking motherfucker. Like, you never really know. You never really know that it's somebody's name. But it is, man. And it's this guy's name. So holla. We'll talk about him in a second. He's coming off an elbow injury. Gilbert Powell, what's good? What's going on, man? Good to see you. Ladarius Thompson, what up? Good to see you, man. Elliot says, shake it off, CK. Exactly. Elliot's got the right idea. That's what we do here. We shake it off and move on. You don't necessarily have to forget. You always want to learn from situations, learn when things happen, learn when mistakes are made. Understand it's every relationship that you have in life that you need to be getting back what you're putting in. If you're not, something's not right. It's time to speak up. But in the meantime, shake it off. Make the best of the situation. And most of all, we got to crush some KBO. So I'm pretty excited. We'll go ahead and get into all that good stuff and make the most of it. That's right. There you go, Elliot. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in because it's been a couple of days since we had some KBO. We had a lot of fun with NASCAR. That was a good show. But time to jump on into this. Hit that like button if you haven't already. We're going to get things rolling here with the Kia Tigers and the KT Wiz. We've got Drew Gagnon going up against Jae Song Bae. Wonderful. Okay, so first off, starting with Gagnon, he's coming off a phenomenal game. We have a really close spread here. Kia is actually slight underdogs. Obviously, I think Gagnon is a better pitcher in my opinion, but obviously the KT Wiz offense is projected to be better. But they are a little banged up, so we'll go ahead and talk about these guys just a little bit here. Starting with Gagnon, as we said, 3.86 ERA so far, 2.17 FIP so far, 1.163 WHIP, and a 34.33% K rate. Now, if you look, it says the opponent K rate is only about 13.15%. That is a small sample that we're working with off 2020. As you can see, some of these guys, their numbers should raise a little bit. Mel Rojas was more, even guys like Young Ho Jo, who last year didn't strike out a lot, struck out more than 5%. Right, Minha Hyuk Kim, a little bit more than maybe 9%. You got some of these guys, Zhang Daibei, 18, right? Su Sung Woo Jang was a 5%er so far this year. He was about a 21% last year. And Park, who we really haven't seen very much of so far this season, So they're banged up. So I'm not really paying too close attention to this opponent 13.5K rate. I don't think it's accurate. I expected to be more towards like 17-18% collectively. So that's kind of what I'm working with. So with that said, man, I expect Gagnon to be a popular option. He's cheap, 6-7 on DraftKings. Once again, I don't know why he's so cheap. So it's a tough matchup, man. But again, the Wiz are banged up. Now, they did score. They've been scoring some runs against LG, even though they're banged up. They're missing who I think is their best player. I guess you can argue that Mel Rojas is their best player, but their best domestic player is that dude Kong, who just went on that crazy hot streak. He's going to be out for like 10 days. So, again, it does look like a pretty decent spot for Drew Gagnon. And if we look at some of the more advanced pitching stats, where you at, Gagnon? Here we go. So he wasn't here last year, so that's why we haven't mirrored. But as we said, a 34% K rate, a 1.49% home run rate. Some of the best numbers on the slate, amongst the best. We have some good pitchers, but if you see his numbers are very similar, eerily similar, if you will, to Cheng Mo Koo and Chris Flexen, who are two of the I don't know if you want to call them elite, but somewhat elite options that we have here. So I'm going to be playing some Gagnon. I guess to be different in tournaments, you could take some shots on the KT Wiz offense. Certainly, if they were healthy, I'd be interested, man, because I think Gagnon will his home run percentage I expect to rise a little bit. But what it comes down to is I just don't know if they're healthy enough. That's really like the main hang up here. As far as Jae-Sung Bae, so far this season he looked all right. A 2.6 xFIP, a 0.89 ERA. What I don't like is the 13% K rate. I mean, I'm pretty open with you guys with that. I don't like guys who don't throw a ton of strikeouts, and especially on a slate where we have guys that do. So if we do take a look at Jae-Sung Bae, he does project fairly well for us, so we'll have to analyze his actual projection. But if you can see, like, we have a lot of guys that project well, so he's not as high on the list as you may think. I'd probably make an adjustment to put Tyler Wilson ahead of him a little bit. I don't like the fact that he's grading higher than Tyler Wilson. Matter of fact, I don't want to forget to do that, so I'm going to do that right now. Jae-Sung Bae. I just don't like to ride the BABIP train if I don't have to. And there's just a lot of guys here that I think have higher strikeout upside. So I'm not crazy about it. But last year he was solid. 3.66. From an ownership standpoint, I do expect him to be very low owned because, most people who are playing DraftKings are used to Major League Baseball where we have massive strikeout percentages, and I think this is going to turn multiple people off. 16% last year is a little bit better than the 13% he's showing this year. I just don't want to rely on the BABIP. So I think he's a fine play for tournaments. I really do. Obviously, he's averaging around 17 DraftKings points so far this year. You see what he did last year was around 10, but I think he had some bullpen appearances as well. So I'm not super huge on him. I just would rather take shots on guys that have more upside. I mean, Drew Gagnon's cheaper. But again, I would argue that Jae-Sung Bae has a much better matchup than Drew Gagnon. But is it how drastically different is the matchup considering you're getting a KT Wiz team that's missing some of their best players? So some stuff to consider. With that said, do we want to attack him? I think it's okay, right? But at the same time, I don't exactly love the Kia stack either. I think Preston Tucker's been playing really well. He's obviously an option. I don't mind Hyung-Woo Choi, who had 17 homers last year, and it's on a decent pace so far this season. But if you look at the rest of these numbers, it's just not all that impressive, man. You got a lot of guys that are really on pace from what they did last year. Some guys hitting above their head, but you got three guys with significant ISOs. If you're doing the stack, I think it's Tucker, Hyunwoo Chu, Ji-Wan Na, Chan-Ho Park because of the stolen bases, and kind of take it from there. I apologize if I'm yawning, man. A long-ass day, but we're going to do what we do. No excuses all day. So that's kind of where we're at. We'll go on to the next game. We've got the LG Twins. LG, Big City of Dreams. Elliot, your name is Chadwick? Are you for real? Hold up, I just read the chat. Are you fucking with me? Elliot, your name is really Chadwick Elliott? I don't believe you. If it is, that is just gold. That is just gold. I mean, I've known a lot of Chads growing up, but I've never actually met a Chadwick. Unless their name was Chadwick, and they just didn't tell me. Because I asked. I'm like, yo, it's just Chad, and Chad don't stand for nothing. But nobody's ever said it. But if Elliot, if your name is Chadwick for real, that's what's up, man. Then it's a lucky day. Then I'm going to tell you to play Lotto. I might play some Lotto. And I'm expecting to take down some donkeys tonight. Be real with me, though, man. Don't tease me. All right, looking at LG, we got Tyler Wilson going up against Min Jae Jang. No, that's not correct. I'm sorry. I forgot we had a. This is Chadwick Bell right here. This your boy, man. It's your boy Chadwick right here. So I got to make a change to our lineups page real quick. Hanwha. Chadwick Bell. So we're going to have to pull up the... Obviously, we'll have to pull up... I don't know why the price isn't pulling. DK pictures. I think he's like 8,600. I don't know why it's not pulling his stuff right now. Chadwick does... Yeah, okay, so that updated. Chadwick does play for... It is Hanwha, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'll do a little update here. I'll go back and take a look as to why. I mean, we have his actual projection, but I'll just show you the pitching sleep. But anyway, we're going to start off with Tyler Wilson anyway. So yeah, let's get an in-depth look at Tyler Wilson first. We'll go to here. And all right, so looking at 2019 Tyler Wilson, which I believe he was in this league. Yes, he was. Okay. So he had a really good season last year. A 2.99 FIP, a 1.162 whip, 17.96% strikeout rate, which in the MLB, we wouldn't be very impressed. But in KBO, it's not bad. 0.92% home run percentage. So really solid last year. This year, a little bit different, off to a little bit of a slower start. A 4.08 FIP, which doesn't look great, but when you consider his 5.71 ERA, at least it's significantly lower. A 1.270 whip, a 20% K. It's good that the Ks are up, but the home runs are also up at 2.74. What this comes down to for me is matchup, and I think it's a good one. He's playing Hanwha, who's just not one of the more explosive offenses. They're probably the least explosive offense, one of the least explosive offenses in the league. If you look at their 2019 ISOs, you got Hoying with a 176, but then you got Sung Yu Lee at 208. After that, just pathetic. Iwon Jung is the next highest at 112 for this projected lineup. And obviously we'll have to take a wait-and-see approach with some of these other guys. I mean, this is really fucking bothering me that it's not showing up. Let me see. Hold up here. I'm about to look. Chad Bell. Okay, so I was supposed to put Chad Bell. That was my bad. I put Chadwick because I know that's his real name, but DraftKings has him as Chad Bell. Chad Bell. There we go. So now it should update. But looking at the offensive Hanwha, I mean, I think they'll be a very low owned stack. It's just hard to really get excited about them, even on slates where I've seen them do well, and I know some of you guys have played them and they've done well. Even on those types of situations, they haven't like done it the right way or in a way that's good for fantasy. So we don't have them projected well because Tyler Wilson's numbers last year were so good. As far as Chad Bell goes, so I'm actually interested in attacking him. Now we don't have his. I'll show you guys his stats in a second here. We do have. So in 2020, this is obviously his first start. We don't have anything for him there. What the did I just do? Here we go. So we have nothing for him in 2020, but we do obviously have 2019 because he was here actually in 2019. So looking at him now, we have a 3.85 FIP. A 1.308 whip, a 17.89% K rate, a 1.87% home run rate. So he was solid. He really was. He was solid. The main reason that I'm kind of interested in attacking him opposed to playing him is because he's coming off of an elbow injury. This is his first start since the injury, so just kind of banking on maybe number one, a pitch count being somewhat limited, and you pretty much get a lot of bullpen action, or banking on him being a little rusty. And it seemed like LG, who has a lot of power, maybe takes advantage. So if we look at some of these guys, but LG, this projected lineup we have for them isn't necessarily great, but guys like Roberto Ramos, who continues to be underpriced, he's 3,600 now. He has a 9.23% home run rate so far. Hit a walk-off homer, I believe, in his last game. So the LG stack doesn't look all that intimidating when you do look at it, but depending on the lineup, I think they are also dealing with a couple injuries, which is why they look a little more bleak. So maybe, if the pitching wasn't so deep, maybe I would push myself to be a little bit more interested in Chad Bell, but paying 8,600 on a slate where we have good pitchers, I'm just not, I don't know. It's not crazy excited about that. But again, I do think that the LG stack could be interesting against him. Simply because he's coming off of an injury. It's the bottom line. Coming off that injury. Take advantage of them. That's all. No doubt. SK Wyverns going up against the Doosan Bears. Doosan once again with a 6-something ridiculous total. Jong Hoon Park going up against Chris Flexen. flexing all day. So Jang-Hoon Park, we can start with him. We'll pull up his little analytic deals. So looking at him in 2019, 4.29 FIP, which was higher than his 3.88 ERA. 1.5 whip, only a 15.55% K rate. Didn't give up a ton of home runs at 1.87. If we look at what he's done so far this year, 3.77 FIP. The whip is way up at 1.7. However, the strikeouts are also up at 25%, which is pretty solid. I mean, again, we saw last year he was around 15%, so it's hard for me to really just buy in and just believe that all of a sudden this dude is, that much better. Jang-Hoon Park, we can take a look at what he's done. So he had 6 strikeouts in his last game against the Kiwoom Heroes. He gave up 3 earned. He's given up at least 2 earned runs in every start. He's just gotten some strikeouts with it. LG had 7 strikeouts. This is a situation where I would love to see, if we don't have it obviously, but I would love if we did have it to see his BABIP and see those kind of corrective stats to kind of see, or his swinging strike rate. That's one I'd really love to see and find out how many swings and misses, or is he getting real lucky with the umpires and just locating pitches on the corner. So I'm not really going to buy into that 25% K rate, even if it's better than it was last year. I expect it to be somewhere around 18% as an improvement. I don't know, jumping up to 25 is kind of drastic, and he's playing a team that doesn't really strike out. Home run percentage this year has been way up at almost 3%. So, I mean, I like Doosan once again. Doosan should be popular. It's no secret. We got 5-game slates every time, so there's not just a ton to pick from, and you're going to end up playing the good teams a lot. So, I do like Doosan once again. I expect them to kind of do it dirty. They're implied once again for 6.5 runs. They don't strike out. They have a pitcher who normally doesn't strike people out, so I expect a lot of balls put in play. You can see they have a 13% K rate so far with this projected lineup. So, yeah, I'm all about the Doosan. Jose Fernandez has been ridiculous. Hanwha Park has gotten off to a little slow start, but last year he had a really good season, so we expect him to progress a little bit there. Choi's playing well above his head, man. He's been cheap every day, 2,300. He's playing really well right now, so take advantage while he's hot. He had 4 home runs last season. He's already at 4 so far this season. Jae-Hwan Kim, 405 WOBA this year, 271 ISO. He's exceeding what he did last year, so playing while he's hot. But yeah, Doosan should be popular, but they have a nice, and they're expensive, but they have a mixed combination of cheap guys and expensive guys, so the cheap guys help you fit in some of those more expensive guys, so I think it's good for stacking. Then we got Chris Flexen against SK. SK's also dealt with some injuries. SK is striking out a little more heavy, 18% K rate. We got a lot of young guys that they've been playing. They were started off so bad, they decided to send down some of their guys and call up some rookies to give them a shot. And this is where we are. As far as Chris Flexen, man, he seems to be really enjoying himself in this league. So he wasn't around last year, obviously, right? In the KBO. 2.95 FIP, 1.050 whip, 28.21% K rate. Home runs are there, 2.56% home runs. So there's always like some home run upside, I think, attacking Flexen, but I think we're better off playing him. And I think SK's been one of the weaker offenses regardless. We've seen some teams have some pretty big games against him. So once again, I think that Chris Flexen is high in our rankings here, and I'm going to have a good amount of him. He projects well on a raw level. I had to lower his projection just to drop because he was projecting too damn well. He's been awesome, man. He's been really, really awesome. And SK I don't think is that good. I expect Flexen to be popular, but again, we have a lot of good pitchers, so I think maybe the ownership could be spread a little bit. You got him, you got Koo, who we'll talk about. Now you got Chadwick Bell at 8.6, and you got some of these other guys to work in. So definitely some stuff to get in on. To get in on, for sure. I love it, Elliot. I love it, man. That's his first name. Chad Bell, 8,600. Yeah, 8,600. You guys got him. Elliot, I love it. Chadwick, man. Love it. Love it. Yeah, Robert, to your point, Chad Bell was really good in this league last year. So, again, you're 100% correct. He was really good in this league last year. We're just kind of thinking I'm reluctant to play him because of the injury, and maybe we take it a step further and even try to attack him because of that injury. That's really where we are. But, yeah. To be clear, we looked at Chad Bell's numbers from last year, and he was good last year, no doubt. I see Stay Inspired says rain possibility, and Doosan ending KT. Look out for rain there. Shout out to you guys. Stay Inspired and Multi Haystack for talking about the rain. We'll have to keep an eye on that because they've been really, really weird with this shit. They've been really, really weird with the weather in the KBO. That's definitely a complaint. If you're up at the time you're supposed to be up and they cancel the game in advance, there's been an edge. Like if they cancel it like 5 to 10 minutes before and you're able to make those reactions and switch, there's been an edge for those players, no doubt. But obviously, we would just hope they all play. But we'll have to keep an eye on that. Hopefully, I'm sure Kevin Roth DFS meteorologist will have something covering the weather, and we'll have to make sure we're on top of it and take a look. But yeah, assuming that this game does play, Doosan should be one of the more popular stacks. And flexing, one of the top options, man. One of the top options for sure. Right? That's what I'm saying. Dwayne James says, CK, my boy, what's up, man? Thanks for the breakdown. When I win, which probably never happens, I'm sending you a bottle of champagne. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. No doubt. All right, we're going to move on to the next game. Xandru Vlad says, Hanwha pitcher for FanDuel. The pitchers are the same, Xandru. So the Hanwha pitcher we talked about is Chad Bell. That's a change. That wasn't the case all day. That was a change they made. It was hours ago already, but they're going to go with Chadwick Bell, who's coming back from a elbow injury. He pitched here last year, did really well, but he's coming back from making his first start after having an elbow injury. So it's kind of what we're doing there. Next up, we got the Samsung Lions going up against the Lotte Giants. We've got Chae-Hyung Choi going up against Dan Straley. Okay, another polarizing spot. Wonderful. So starting off with Chae-Hyung Choi, he's got the Lotte Giants. These were supposed to be two of the weaker offense coming into the season. Samsung's been bad for the most part. They did win the slate. The last slate we had, they did win it with 13 runs. But the Lotte Giants, they've been the ones that have really started off kind of over their head and been exceeding expectations the most. So it's kind of interesting that they're playing each other. Chae-Hyung Choi, we'll start off looking at him real quick. A little more advanced look. We'll look at his 2019 numbers first. He had a 4.81 ERA, but a 3.69 xFIP. Maybe a little unlucky last year. 1.528 whip, an 18.62% K rate, which really isn't bad for this league, and a 2.09% home run rate, which is actually high for this league. Looking at what he's done so far this year, he's pitched well. 3.81 FIP, so it looks like that luck kind of reversed for him because his ERA is even lower at 2.65. The whip is way down, 1.18, so maybe he's not really walking guys, and that's helping. A 20.2829% K rate, a 1.45% home run. I do think that Choi, you look at like Gagnon, Straley, all these domestic players, Tyler Wilson, who I don't think I really talked much about Tyler Wilson. I talked a little bit about him. What I meant to say about Tyler Wilson is that I like him because Hanwha, they're just not good. So I do like Tyler Wilson, to be clear. But with Choi, I think, is a cheap pivot. I think he's an interesting pivot. The Ks that we're seeing at 20% is not far off from what he did last year at 18.6. So I think it's somewhat sustainable. He's pitched well last year. His FIP looked good. This year it looks pretty good, even though it's higher than his ERA. And the whip is down. And he's playing the Lotte Giants. So I think that there's some room there. So I think both pitchers in this game are interesting from the aspect of their matchup. Chae-Hyung Choi, though, is going to be extremely low owned. I think that Straley, Tyler Wilson, Gagnon, especially because Gagnon is bald. But a lot of these guys are going to be paired with Koku and flexing in these guys, maybe even with each other for bat purposes. And I just think guys like some of the domestic players are going to go overlooked. That's just the bottom line. So maybe it's not the worst idea to work in some Choi, but it's hard to do that, man. We got a lot of really good pitching. I'm not saying that I think he's a great idea. I just think that from an ownership standpoint, I expect him to be lower owned. As far as Straley goes, let's talk about Straley. 3.37 FIP, 1.318 whip, a 27% K rate, 2.17%. This guy's been really polarizing. So his FIP looks healthy, looks good. I'm going to walk you guys through his game logs for a second just to kind of show you how up and down this guy's been. So his first start in the KBO regular season was against the KT Wiz. Went for 13 DraftKings points, 4 Ks, 2 earned runs, 3 hits, 3 walks. So he's been walking people. He threw 97 pitches, got through 5 2/3. His very next start, he just smashed SK. The SK Wyverns just smashed him. 11 strikeouts through 7 innings. No earned, no walks, 3 hits. He was just on. And SK, like I said, that we've seen them strike out like that before. He played Hanwha, who doesn't strike out as much as you would think. Well, they didn't earlier. They're starting to with their newer lineup. But 4 Ks, 3 walks again, 2 earned, 7 hits, 7 DraftKings points, 7.75. Most recent start was against Kia. I know he was extreme chalk. 6 strikeouts, but 4 walks, 5 earned runs, 6 hits for 7.25 DraftKings points. Only got through 5 innings. So, really inconsistent in his performances. But he's playing Samsung now, who is just one of the better teams to attack. So hard not to want to go back to Straley. He projects as one of our better cheap guys. I expect to have a pretty good amount of him. I think that maybe last time Straley was way more chalky than Gagnon when they were on together. I expect maybe we see a reverse. Probably not, actually, because Straley has a better matchup. I think people still attack the matchup. So I expect Straley to be popular, but it's a really good situation for him. So I will be going back to him. With that said, we did acknowledge Straley's 2.17% home run rate. And we see how bad things can get, especially with walks. So I'm not opposed to some Samsung with Lion stacks, especially as a hedge if you are heavy on Straley. If we go back to look at the actual hitters themselves, give me a second, I'll switch some screen action for you. Sang-Soo Kim is not a guy with power, but he's a guy that can steal some bases and more of an average kind of get on base kind of dude. Jawa Koo has a really strong start for him, man. 429 WOBA, 194 ISO. He's off to a great start. I think that last year, Won-Seok Lee played a lot better than what we're seeing from him this year, so I expect him to kind of change things around a little bit for us. Tyler Saladino has gotten off to a real slow start here. The strikeouts are massive, which is part of the reasons that it's been good to attack them. But nonetheless, I'm definitely... And again, ignore this when you see for Straley the 16% K rate. That is not true. That's why I don't like to use the 2020 numbers, but I wanted to get a head start. But guys like Sung-Gun Lee, who is projected to be in there, has a 0% K rate this season. He had a 21% last year, so we expect him to be somewhere at least in the middle of that, right? So the samples can kind of make things a little murky for sure. But, I like the pitching more than I like the offenses. I actually do like I actually don't mind a lot of Giants. I think that Chae-Hung Choi is in play, and I think he'll be low-owned, but we have a lot of good pitchers, so it kind of makes the offenses a little more tough to locate. So I don't necessarily mind taking some shots with a lot of Giants, you know what I mean? Last game, we got the Kiwoom Heroes visiting the NC Dinos. Sung-Ho Lee going up against Chang-Mo Koo, one of the best pitchers in baseball. In my opinion, him and Yang are the 2 best domestic pitchers in the KBO. Starting off with Sang-Ho Lee. So we'll go ahead and just pull up the pitching stats, and then we'll kind of look at these offenses. So we'll start with Sang-Ho Lee, who was here last year. All right, so a 4.48 ERA, a 4.09 FIP, a 1.51 whip, only a 15% K rate. The strikeouts were around average, so it wasn't crazy. If we look at what he's done so far this year, still in the fours, his FIP, 4.26, a 1.43 whip, which is not that different, a 19% K rate, which is elevated. We don't necessarily expect it to continue. We saw he was around 15% last year. And a 3.28% home run rate. So I do like the Dinos. I definitely like the Dinos offense. There's not a ton of offenses. We like Doosan. The Dinos probably my number 2. As of right now, we were looking at LG. We'll kind of see what we can dig into. But I do like the Dinos offense. So that really takes me off of their pitcher, the Kiwoom's pitcher, Sang-Ho Lee. He'll be low-owned, but I'm looking more to attack him than I am to anything else. So I will be looking to pick on Sang-Ho Lee with the NC Dinos offense. Before we talk about that offense, let's talk about Chang-Mo Koo. Looking at 2019, he had a 3.5 FIP, a 1.178 whip. More importantly, a 25.39% K rate and a 2.23% home run rate. He's been even better this year. 1.37 whip, 1.337 FIP, FIP. 0.545 whip, a 32.89% K rate, and he hasn't got a home run yet. He's been awesome. So I expect him and Flexen to both be popular as the spend up options. I'm sure I'll have some builds where I try to get them in together and just get some value stacks with them. But looking at the lineups here, so you can see Kiwoom, who they were supposed to be one of the stronger offenses coming into the season. We'll take a look. They're starting to get going. Guys like Byung-Ho Park. They have their shortstop is fucking awesome. Ha-Seong Kim, that dude is just a freak. They're starting to get going a little bit now. But I still like Koo's chances. This particular projected lineup is striking out around 28.5%, which is really high for this league, and Koo's just been on, so it's hard to make any arguments against him. Looking at the Kiwoom Heroes, as you can see, like I said, man, Juntae Park striking out a ton. He did last year. He's on pace to do the same. Hae-Sung Kim is striking out at a high clip. Tae-Kun Lee is striking out at a high clip. Byung-Ho Park is striking out at a ridiculous clip. So We expect him to turn it around at some point. Maybe that starts to happen sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, I still think that, when you got a guy that's this good in this league, you just go roll with it. So I'm going to be playing a lot of him and flexing together, separate, all that good stuff. And listen, Kiwoom, I'm gonna play 5 to 10% Kiwoom stacks just because of how popular he is. And if you look at last year, while he was extremely good last year, we did see that his home run rate, I'm just gonna look, it's 2.23%, which in this league is actually fairly high. So you got a good offense who's been playing, who's been heating up a little bit. It doesn't hurt. I mean, everybody, no matter how good you are, has a bad game once in a while. So this is my favorite stack. I'm not like recommending it, no, not necessarily. I'm gonna be playing a lot more Koo, I can tell you that. But as a hedge, just because I know Koo's going to be popular and the Kiwoom stacks going to be low owned. Byung-Ho Park, 33 homers last year, right? Ha-Seong Kim has been awesome. This guy's great. He doesn't strike out. He's got a little bit of power, not a ton, but just enough. 19 homers last year, 33 stolen bases last year, and his WOBA was 387. So he's just awesome. This guy's really, really good. So I will find ways to work him in. And you can see, even on a projection level, Kyung Chang So projects fairly well for us. Jung-Ho Lee. Tae-Kun Lee. So we have some guys that do actually project well at cheap prices. So we'll have to see. That'll be more for some flexing teams. So I'm not trying to get on you on the hype train with Kiwoom. I'm just saying I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities for deeper donkeys, and I am playing some donkeys today, tomorrow, whatever you want to call it. You could take some shots. So the Dinos again. Looking at them, man. Sungbum Na. He's supposed to be one of their better players. Eoji Yang, I don't know if he's going to play. I thought he was on out for 10 days or something. I'm not sure. He's obviously one of their top hitters, probably the best hitting catcher in the history of KBO. But we'll have to see. He's been hurt. That's obviously a blow out of the lineup when he's not there, even though his backup did play well in the last game. But the Dinos hit the most home runs in the league last year. They're missing a couple of guys that helped them do that. So we haven't seen them as home run heavy, but I think that their prices are reasonable at least for the most part. And I'm interested, man. Don't leave out Aaron Altair in them stacks. I know he's been terrible, but he's really expensive. So I think when people come here and he's going to project fairly low for most people because of how bad he's been, I think he can go overlooked fairly often. So yeah, man, they're my favorite offense. Or them and Doosan so far are a couple of my favorites. So I'm with it. That's it for the games. The projections are up on the site. Y'all can download them, take a look at them. We've got the cheat sheets will be out shortly. I'm just gonna make sure to review them real quick and then I'll post them up. And then my article will be out a little bit after that, man. And we are gonna do the dirty all day. Let me see here. Yeah, Jeffrey Dates, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to this question. I'll do some research. He says, thanks for sharing these nuggets. Do you know the KBO range shortened game rule? Is it 6 innings in the States? It's 5 innings in the States. They have to go 5 innings for the game to be official. That's a good question for the KBO. We don't actually know. Maybe we'll have to take a look on that. But, hey, listen, guys. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys doing all this stuff. Make sure you hit the like button. It really goes a long way. It allows me to continue to do the dirty. Went through this one pretty quick, but we'll be back at it tomorrow for another slate. I will write the article. The article is free. It's the CK's KBO DFS breakdown, so make sure you check it out. I usually, when I find the weather link, I usually post something in there so that we can all keep an eye on weather. But at the end of the day, man, I don't think the weatherman's waking up at 4:30 with us to get these lineups. Now, again, these lineups, for anybody that's new that you see on the screen, they are projected lineups. The official lineups don't come out until at least an hour before lock, sometimes a little bit later than that. So I wake up, I'll be up at 4:30 just waiting for these lineups to come in. I'll put them in there. Our projections are designed. If a player's not in the lineup, then they get a 0 projection, right? So as we update this, you're going to see some players that maybe had a 0 before because they weren't in the projected lineup now have a projection, and vice versa. Some players that were initially during the show you see with projections now have 0. So it's important that you do get the updated lineup. You don't want to play anybody that's not in there. Follow the WiseTake Twitter at @wise_take. After I update once the lineups come in and they're confirmed, I go on there and I tweet from the WiseTake Twitter to let you guys know when all the lineups are officially confirmed. When I tweet that means all the content is final. That means all the projections and the cheat sheets, they're final. The players are good. The projections are fine and good to go. So again, use them now to put some dummy teams in there in case you oversleep so you have a shot. But make sure that it puts in the work, man. You want to make that money, you got to put in that work, man. Wake up. Do what you got to do. And make sure that you're not playing guys who ain't playing. It's important. But listen, you guys are the best, man. You guys have been awesome. George Killian says, what are your top 2 home runs? I'll go with Sungbum Na. little bit of an easy one there. And Roberto Ramos, man. I think Ramos hits another one here, and I'm hoping that he's somewhat low owned because I'm hoping people don't want to pick on Chadwick. I'm hoping. My boy Chad Bell, a.k.a. Belly Bell. But hit that like button, guys. Really appreciate you. I'm going to get up out of here, and I'm going to do the dirty. I hope y'all do the dirty before the dirty is done to us. So hit that like button, subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Check out the content at WiseTake.com while it's free. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.